Yo, it's me, CSCOTT baby, and I'm back with my review of the 2015 movie Creed, starring Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone, and directed by Ryan Coogler. Alright, so where are we at in the Rocky franchise so far? Rocky had a fight against what's-his-face and Rocky Balboa, and then we heard nothing for almost 10 years. Technically 9. So now we got Creed. Focusing on the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed. But he had children before this. He had 2 children. I think he had a son and a daughter in the original films. But they decided to focus on an illegitimate child out of nowhere. Okay. Now, Michael B. Jordan and myself are the same age. 33 years old. He might be a little bit... I think his birthday is not till later in the year, so he might be a few months younger than me. But we're around the same age. So he's at 32 right now. Maybe not when his birthday is, but we're about the same age. 2015... I was 28 and this came out. Gonna be 29 a couple months later, but it was 28. So, for a boxer, you gotta think, when Rocky himself began fighting, he was 30. You know, I'm 30 myself. And, so, you know, the difference is, Donnie, had been training his whole life because of who his old man was. You know, he's been fighting since he was a kid, really. He was in solitary at this orphanage or whatever because he got into a fight. He's adopted, sort of, by Marianne Creed and raised. And, and then because it's focused mostly on Creed, it's his movie, so, but there is some Rocky stuff in here we'll talk about. But yeah, he wants to be trained, and no one will train him. You know, for some reason, I don't know if they give a specific reason, but they just won't train him. And so he goes to Rocky. He goes to Philadelphia. He goes to Rocky, and he tells him, I want you to train me. And he's like, Rocky's like, I don't know who you are, you know. And he asked him the question we've all been wanting to be answered since the end of Rocky 3, beginning of Rocky 4. I heard about a third fight between you two. Who won? Yeah, that's kind of personal, you know. It's private, or it's a secret, you know. It's what we wanted to know. It's not really explained. It's just sort of given to us. And I don't know if that's kind of iffy on it. Whether he just says that Apollo was the one who won the fight. And yeah, but oh, okay, you first see that, you're like, but then you stop and you think, okay, but how does it work exactly? Because this fight was just the two of them. There was no referees, no spectators, nothing. How do you determine? Like, did he knock Rocky the hell out to win that? Or, I mean, it looked like a sparring match. I honestly don't understand. He doesn't explain what happened. He just said, oh, he did. I don't know. But what I like is Donnie comes in and he just starts spilling a whole bunch of Rocky's backstory. Rocky's like, how do you know that much? I mean, Rocky Balboa fans are gonna know about him, but this is stuff that only certain people would know. And we find out here that Rocky hasn't talked to Marianne Creed since the funeral. You know, there's animosity between them. So Rocky at first doesn't want to train him, but he gives him a few training regimens to do, you know, just like write a list or everything. Like Rocky writes it on. I like how Rocky writes it on a piece of paper, and Donnie just takes his phone and takes a picture of it. And like, what? You know, showing that Rocky ain't too into the new generation of technology and stuff. I think Rocky still has a landline, actually. He's still running Adrian's. You know, it's not really most of the focus of the film. But, the big fight of this is Pretty Ricky Conlan is putting his world championship on the line against someone else. Name I can't remember. But he's going to go to jail soon for something, and he's got to put that title on the line. But during a press conference, he punches the other guy in the face, and it breaks the guy's jaw so he can't fight. So now they got to find someone else. Donnie eventually gets Rocky to train him, and they train for this fight against the guy who's now running Mickey's gym, his fighter, and they go in, and the guy finds out that Donnie is actually Creed's son. Donnie doesn't want, and there's a big change in this from beginning to end. When this is all going down, when it starts, Donnie doesn't want to use the Creed name. He wants to do this on his own merits, not based on what his father did. I respect that, but yet there's confusion, because here, he doesn't want to use Creed's name to boost up, to get up into the business. He wants to go on his own merits. Then he wants Rocky to train him. Now, I refer you back to Rocky 5. If it wasn't for Rocky training Tommy Gunn would not have gotten as far as he did. It was Rocky's name that got him the 22-0 winning streak, that got him all those fights in a short amount of time. It was Rocky's name. And yet, Donnie wants to win on his own creed. No pun intended. He wants to win on his own merits. But he still has Rocky as his trainer, and Rocky's star is going to boost him. So I never really got that. He doesn't want to, father's going to, ride his father's coattails, but he's okay with riding Rocky's coattails. Because either way, it's a lose-lose situation if you want to go on your own merits. I'm just saying. Donnie eventually meets Bianca, played by Tessa Thompson, and there's some kind of relationship thing there. But again, the one thing I hate about movies with love interests is that they get together and then something happens in the middle and they break apart and then they get back together. This is not a love story. This is a story, just like Rocky was, about someone coming up from the bottom and trying to make it to the top. We didn't need that whole, it's very short what happens, she gets mad because she finds out that he's Creed's son, and then they make up quickly, but then there's an incident, he goes off on someone that's there and punches him, and then they have problems, but then later they get back together thanks to Rocky. And we'll talk about Rocky's storyline in a little bit, but I just didn't care for that whole, and to be honest, what they do with this couple in this one and the second film, I didn't really care for. Them being a couple, that's not the problem. It's how they handle some stuff. Their little breakup thing in this wasn't necessary. And what they do with, spoiler alert, their child in the second one, we'll get to that because I didn't really care for the direction they went with that. But let's move on. Let's talk about Rocky. Rocky is in a situation where he gets his phone call, and you can tell there's something going on. He goes to the hospital, he finds out he has cancer, and they start dishing out these treatments. We caught it very early, we can treat it, and he pushes it out. He's like, no, I went through this. My wife, I went through this with Adrian. My wife, she went through all this, the chemotherapy, it didn't work. I don't want to, he wants nothing to do with it. He figures if it's his time to die, then it's his time to die. Because in his mind, he's the only one left. But what he doesn't realize is he's got other people around him. But the one thing I want to talk about here is they ignore Rocky Balboa as a whole. as a whole, especially when you get to the next one and what they did with the son. I mean, they said in this one too, his son moved to Canada for a job, I believe, which ignores Rocky Balboa because he gave up his job to help his dad, to be with his family. And I understand he's got a family now. It's been 10 years almost. 9 years, technically. Then this came out. So, from Rocky Balboa to this, I should say. And it seems like they ignore it. It seems like they always want to have problems between Rocky and his son. And I don't get that. Because, if you don't know, this, the original Rocky was semi-autobiographical. So, the fact they keep having problems... Stallone alone never had problems with his son. At all. So, the fact that they keep writing this in... And Stallone's the one writing it, which is confusing me. He keeps writing that he and his son have problems. 3 separate movies, 4 if you count Creed 2, I guess. But, it just... doesn't work with me. But like I said, he thinks he's the only one left. You know, I forgot to mention this, but Paulie is gone. I mentioned this in my Rocky Balboa one. Paulie died, and so now Paulie and Adrian's tombstone's right next to each other, and yeah, he visits them. He says it's time to go. All his friends are gone. Think about this: Paulie, Adrian, Apollo, Tony, Mickey. They're all gone. He's the only one left. He thinks it's his time to go. He's gonna go, but this affects Donnie as well because he, besides Marianne Creed, never had any family. Now that he's connected with Rocky, he thinks of Rocky as his uncle. And then Rocky says, "No, I ain't your uncle, man. I'm just an old fighter training a new fighter. That's it. But, you know, eventually they talk and he's like, because by this time he's already set to face Conlon. And he said, "Hey, if you're not gonna fight, I'm not gonna fight. I'll fight if you fight." And they do the fist bump, the deal, and yeah, and then you know the half-assed, they get back together scene where Rocky comes in. He's like, "Hey, can I talk to you? I couldn't sleep." Yeah, me neither. He sits there, he talks to me, he keeps looking at the door. But he keeps looking at the door. No. And then there's a knock. "Hey, yo, Bianca, what are you doing here?" You know, he's like very smooth. So, let's get to the fight. Him and Conlon exchanging blows left and right. The ending of the fight is what I want to focus on here is that there are a couple parts of the fight, actually. One, Donnie gets his eye, I think it's his left eye, obliterated. And they want to stop the fight. And he covers his other eye and he asks how many fingers he's holding up. This is very clever. Rocky knows he's not going to want to give up the fight. So Rocky has his hand on the back of his neck, right? The guy can't see it. He asks how many fingers he's holding up, and Rocky taps his neck 4 times. 4. He switches it. How many now? 2. That's right. It could have got him knocked the fuck out, but it didn't. I'm just saying. And in the end, very close to the buzzer. Now, the bell cannot save you in the 12th round of a boxing fight. So, with like 1 or 2 seconds left on the clock, Donnie knocks Conlon down. And they do the 10 count, but Conlon gets up at 9. And then the bell goes off. He had him. And when Rocky says, if you had 10 more seconds, you could have got it. But, I forget the word. In Conlon's defense, he does show respect. And then they had this little talk of like, if your old man was here, what would you say? I'm going to tell him I love him. I'm going to tell my mom, even though I don't think my mom, even though I know she's mad at me for doing this. And, and Rocky, and they asked Rocky, So, yeah, and they don't even mention the, in Creed 2, that I believe they don't even mention the cancer, so that's probably already done with. But, yeah, this is a good movie. The music. I'm mixed on the music. So, they mix, I believe Bill Conti came back to do the music for this. Let me look. It doesn't say. There's no score. Songs by Ludwig Göransson. Okay, it's not Bill Conti, but they mix traditional score with a little bit of rap. And like the Creed theme song, I believe, is when he's training and there's motorcycles going around him and stuff like that. I like that. And even some of the rap in this is okay. But when you get to the electronic stuff, like with Bianca's music and stuff, I'm sorry, I don't care for that. It just kind of takes me out when you do damn and whatever. I'm just like, okay, can we get the story going now? Just kind of the movie keep going. Don't really care for that. And they make it a very big plot point in her story that she is half deaf. Like myself, I got a ear problem in this ear. I don't need no hearing aid or anything, but she's deaf, and eventually she's going to go all the way deaf. And that goes into the second one, which is one of the plot points. The second film, I don't care for. We'll get to it. But overall, I really enjoyed Creed. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Now, don't at me. People say, oh, this is the best Rocky movie. It's not a Rocky movie, first of all. It's a Rocky spinoff. It's a movie based on a Creed with Rocky in it. Set in the same Rocky universe, but it's not a Rocky film. Yes, they're kind of like parallel to each other in this movie, but who knows? But yeah, 7 out of 10 for me. I really enjoy this movie. So what are your thoughts on Creed? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. We got one more in the Rocky franchise left. And then I do the ranking for Rocky and a ranking for Rambo, which I've been meaning to do, but I keep spacing it out. But we'll get it. Okay. So until then, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.